you viewing this video are aware of the Eastern North Dakota Synod Endowment Fund. Since late 2000, this fund has made a real difference in the lives of our seminarians, pastors, congregations, and church members. Please join us now as we tell the remarkable story of this fund from its beginning and later update you on the status of this fund through early 2007. The Eastern North Dakota Synod Council has authorized the establishment of a Synod Endowment Fund to sustain rural ministry and enhance quality pastoral leadership. Over the years, the rising costs of a pastor's education has led to a situation where heavy debts have discouraged many from rural parishes that may not be able to provide salaries sufficient to keep up with these debts or to ensure a secure retirement.
I began hearing some years ago about pastors, kind of anecdotally, pastors were having debts. Then I began exploring it a little and read some national statistics in which the average indebtedness had way more than doubled in a few-year period. And then about a year ago, I asked our pastors, the ones that have come out in the last 4, 5, 6 years, if they would be willing to say, what is your financial situation? What kind of debt did you come out with, and how did that happen? The long and short of it was that where in years past, and what most of us assume, is that the church somehow covered most of the expense of training, because we ask 8 years, college and seminary, for our pastors to serve. That's simply not true anymore. And the average debt continues to creep up. We realized that pretty soon pastors who wanted to serve in our area weren't going to be able to.
Unless otherwise directed by the donor, the intent is to use the return on principle to sustain rural ministry and enhance quality pastoral leadership, maintaining the principle to fund ministry into the future. Ministries served by this fund include Pastor Student Loan Repayment Aid Program, Scholarship Aid for Seminarians, Pastor's Pension Equity Program, Rural Internship Assistance, and Leadership Development. In order to increase the level of financial support for seminarians who are preparing to serve as pastors in the ELCA, the Eastern North Dakota Synod Endowment Fund includes a Scholarship Aid for Seminarians program. Our optimum goal for this program is to provide full tuition scholarships for all our seminarians. The Pastor Student Loan Repayment Aid program is intended to reduce the indebtedness of pastors serving in the Synod.
We looked at the 30 pastors who had come most recently from seminary to Eastern North Dakota Synod. Only 5 of those had managed to come out with less than $10,000 in debt. Of the remaining 25, the average indebtedness for student loan coming out was $38,000. Well, we have cash salaries around $20,000 or a little more. This is not working.
The initial payments when you come out of seminary to when the loan starts to fall due, it's a big number. It really is, and it hamstrings us. There are pastors I know who have left here because they couldn't afford to stay. They loved it. It broke their hearts, but they had to leave because they could not afford to stay. The Synod Endowment Fund is good. It's necessary. It's needed. If the prairie ministry is to stay alive, the people have to stay here. For the people to stay here, you've got to have preachers here. You've got to have the gospel here. Why should they receive any less than people in the cities where it is affordable?
The purpose of the Pastor's Pension Equity Program is to supplement pension payments for pastors serving in the Synod, whose compensation is at the low end of the scale.
As housing is more expensive, when you retire, if you've been in a parsonage, you have no home. And so you retire and the pension is based on your salary. So if your pension is based on a lower salary and you retire and your spouse have no home and you have to buy one, that's been a problem, and we've been aware of that and trying in different ways to address it.
Our hope is to ultimately provide supplemental pension payments so that no full-time pastor in the Synod would be below the ELCA average. The Rural Internship Assistance Program will help increase rural internship opportunities in the Eastern North Dakota Synod.
We've discovered that some of our finest pastors had never been in North Dakota before internship. They interned here, fell in love with the people in the place, and wanted to come back. And had that not been for those internships, I think we would have been hard-pressed to convince them that this is where God was calling.
The Synod Endowment Fund will also encourage leadership development by offering continuing education and other leadership enhancement opportunities for clergy and congregational leaders.
Well, we have been involved in gift giving before, but this particular fund really rung our bell, because we felt that there was such a tremendous need for seminarians. And when we were asked to come to a meeting and visit about this, it was a very interesting program that we were proposed, that they had been proposed to us, and we decided that it looked very good, so let's take a look at it very seriously. We prayed about it, and we were led to support it.
Our church needs pastors. They need good pastors, and so, yes, we're very happy to support them.
It's such a necessary thing, and I hope that everybody will join us. Anything that they can contribute will be a real blessing to these young students and pastors.
The start couldn't be better, with a large gift from Earl Johnson and his brother Leonard, and with large gifts from a host of people making gifts of various sizes. What we're doing is keeping debt and lack of financial resource from getting in the way of call, of commitment, of faithful ministry. And that's exciting. That's exciting.
Now we are in early 2007. As of the end of March of this year, the grants made from this fund total almost $475,000. These do not include relatively small grants that will be made later this year for rural internships and leadership development. We are now a little over halfway to our original fund goal of $5 million. Let's take a look at what we can do when we meet our next milestone of $3 million. As the fund continues to grow, we hope to increase scholarship support to 1/2 of tuition and also make significant additions to our grants for pension equity, rural internships, and leadership development. These numbers are, of course, estimates and will be refined by the committee each year. Numbers are very important, as we all know, but the real impact comes in the lives of seminarians, pastors, and church members. We would like you to hear from a few pastors and Synod Endowment Task Force members to hear their thoughts on the impact of this fund.
I am receiving additional help to reduce my debt that I incurred at seminary. And especially for my husband and I, it has been a kind of a reminder of the support of other people in this endeavor. There is a strong connection that people have to their community and to the land, and I feel privileged to be a part of that. And I really hope to stay here as long as God can use me here in this place. And the Synod Endowment Fund really is a tangible sign to me that other people want me to stay here.
When I first contemplated and thought that I had a call and talked with different people about that, one of my biggest concerns was financially. I'm second career, I have a lot of obligations, I have kids in college, all those kinds of things, and I thought there's no way that I can afford to do this. Even if I wanted to, it would be terribly difficult to figure out how to do it. It was so amazing that the people of this synod would support their seminarians and their pastors the way that they do. I don't want to use the word envy, but among the people that I attend class with, I have heard people say, you know, Eastern North Dakota is really, the way that they support their seminarians and their pastors, they are the pearl of the church.
Working through the fund, we're really trying to address this problem from both ends. On one end, we're looking at people who are currently in the seminary and seeing what we can do to help reduce the load of their debt. But the other side of the issue is that we have people who are already out in the ministry, and we're working to see what we can do through the endowment fund to help lighten the load for those people so that they're not encumbered in their ministry in the future by their debt load.
As most people know, income levels for pastors are not the highest. And one of the things that the endowment seeks to do is to be able to support candidates so they don't build up debt while they are in seminary. And then once they do get out here in the field, that the debt that they have acquired can be reduced. It just seems to be very, very important to the strengthening of the rural ministries to be able to deal with these debt issues so that people can commit long-term to stay in the rural ministry where they really probably prefer to be.
I believe very firmly in the fact that you have to encourage young people when they feel a sense of call to go into ministry. Now, if you're in the sports world or very good in academics, colleges will give you scholarships to help you with your financial situation. I like to think the endowment fund is sort of like the scholarship fund to pull in young people into ministry and help them with that financial burden that they're bound to carry. Sometimes we in the larger parishes look out in rural North Dakota and say, well, you know, it's a difficult situation, but we really don't sense an urgency to help them. After serving in interim up at Portland and in a rural parish up there, I discovered lots of times they need the assistance plus the compassion. This lets the rural congregations and pastors know, hey, we care.
It would be foolish for us to gamble the future of our church on whether people can overcome the burden of the cost of seminary to get into the pastorate. We should be doing everything that we can to encourage them, and certainly our financial support is the place that we start with that.
The endowment fund is grace come to life. It allows us to stay. It allows us to preach the gospel. Thank you.
We can do so much more when the fund reaches the $5 million mark. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could offer full tuition to all of our Eastern North Dakota seminarians? That's what full funding would bring to the table.
As you've heard from a few, we're moving toward our ultimate goal, the $5 million. At this point, I want to say thank you. Thank you for those who have helped us launch this, for those who are continuing to help. We've noticed some tremendous impact already. Not only have we been able to distribute, coming up toward $500,000 toward the seminary aid and the debt reduction and the pension equity, but it's made a huge difference to those who may want to serve here. We notice a difference in terms of pastors realizing that we care about their situation. And that translates into people saying, yes, I'd like to serve here. We hear, and we hope it's true, we hear very positive things when we're on seminary campuses. The other impact that I'm delighted with is that in other parts of this church, this problem of the debt and the cost of theological education is being acknowledged, and we're trying across the church to tend to it in a way that will help us raise up leaders and not saddle them with these debts. We know that we've made a difference, but we also know we have a long way to go. And as we've had a lot of the cash support in the beginning, we're seeing the beginnings of those who have done planned gift through wills and different estate planning. And if that's in your future, I hope that you will consider that as well. We have great pastors, great congregations, great leaders in this synod, and we'd like to keep it that way. God bless. Thank you very much.